You think you can just waltz into my showroom flaunting that ridiculous MAGA garbage and expect to be treated like a real customer? The word sliced through the luxurious ambiance of the showroom like a jagged knife, dripping with such venomous contempt that every head in the space instinctively snapped toward the confrontation. Karoline Leavitt, standing perfectly poised in her tailored white blazer and black slacks, felt the weight of dozens of judgmental eyes boring into her as she clutched the glossy brochure for the $3.2 million Aston Martin Valkyrie, a car she had every intention of purchasing to replace her battered government sedan. The salesman, a smarmy, silver-haired man in his late 40s named Lucas Grant, stood before her with his arms crossed, his designer suit straining against his paunch as he looked down his nose at her with undisguised disgust. His lips curled into a sneer as he gestured dramatically toward the exit. Let me make this crystal clear for you, sweetheart. This establishment caters to sophisticated clientele, not delusional cult members who still think Trump won the election. Take your conspiracy theories and your tacky politics elsewhere. A titter of laughter rippled through the gathered crowd of wealthy onlookers, their champagne flutes pausing mid-sip as they eagerly absorbed the spectacle. Karoline's spine stiffened, her nails digging crescent moons into her palms, but her expression remained an unreadable mask of calm. What none of these smug elitists realized was that they weren't just insulting a random conservative woman, they were provoking a storm that would leave their privileged little world in ruins. The air inside the Capital Luxury Motors dealership was thick with the scent of expensive leather and pretentious cologne, the kind of place where the sales staff sized up clients within seconds based on the cut of their clothes and the shine of their shoes. Karoline had known the moment she walked in that her understated professional attire and the subtle gold MAGA pin on her lapel would make her a target, but she hadn't expected the hostility to be so brazen. Lucas Grant, the dealership's senior sales director, had approached her with the same smarmy charm he likely reserved for all potential buyers, until his eyes landed on her political affiliation. His demeanor had shifted instantly, his smile twisting into something ugly as he dismissed her with a wave of his hand, as though she were an unpleasant odor he couldn't wait to be rid of. "So let me understand this," Karoline said, her voice low and measured, the same tone she used when eviscerating left-wing reporters during White House press briefings. "You're refusing to conduct business with me, a paying customer, because of a political pin? Does your company have an official policy against serving conservatives, or is this just your personal brand of bigotry?" Lucas barked out a laugh, the sound sharp and mocking as he turned slightly to address his captive audience of affluent liberals who were watching the exchange like it was their own private theater performance. "Oh, this is rich. The Trump flunky thinks she's entitled to our services." He shook his head, his expression dripping with faux pity. "Miss Leavitt, let me explain something to you. This isn't one of your Fox News safe spaces. We don't cater to people who support a man who tried to overthrow democracy. We value integrity here. We value intelligence. And frankly, we value not associating with fascists." A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. A woman in a couture dress smirked behind her hand, while a man in a Brioni suit nodded sagely, as if Lucas had just delivered some profound truth. Karoline's pulse pounded in her temples, but she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. Instead, she tilted her head, her gaze locking onto Lucas with the precision of a predator sizing up prey. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Because the last time I checked, refusing service based on political affiliation was the kind of discrimination you liberals claim to despise. Or does your moral outrage only apply when it's convenient?" The silence that followed was deafening. Lucas's face flushed an ugly shade of red, his carefully constructed facade of superiority cracking under the weight of her words. He opened his mouth to retort, but Karoline was already turning on her heel, her heels clicking decisively against the polished marble floor as she strode toward the exit. She didn't slam the door behind her. She didn't look back. But as she slid into the driver's seat of her modest sedan, her hands clenched around the steering wheel, she allowed herself one small, icy smile. Lucas Grant had no idea what was coming. The next morning, the dealership's pristine showroom was buzzing with its usual crowd of wealthy patrons when the roar of an engine unlike anything they'd ever heard shattered the quiet hum of conversation. Heads turned in unison as a matte black Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus, a hypercar so rare and exclusive that only a handful existed in the entire world, rolled to a stop directly in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The car was a masterpiece of engineering, a snarling beast of carbon fiber and horsepower, its very presence a declaration of power. But it was the man who stepped out of it who truly commanded attention. Nicholas Rio moved with the effortless authority of someone who had spent decades building an empire from nothing. His salt-and-pepper hair perfectly styled, his custom Tom Ford suit hugging his broad frame, his sharp eyes missing nothing as they swept over the stunned faces inside the showroom. Lucas Grant, mid-pitch to a billionaire tech mogul, froze when he saw Nicholas. His mouth went dry. He knew exactly who Nicholas was. Everyone in DC's elite circles did. The self-made real estate tycoon who had clawed his way up from sleeping on park benches to owning half of downtown. The man whose influence stretched from Wall Street to the White House. The husband of Karoline Leavitt. Nicholas didn't bother with the front door. Instead, he strode straight toward Lucas, his polished Oxfords clicking against the marble with deliberate, unhurried steps. The showroom had gone utterly silent, the air thick with tension as every eye followed him. Lucas swallowed hard, his fingers twitching at his sides, his mind racing for some way to salvage the situation. Mr. Rio, he stammered, forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. What an unexpected pleasure. How can I assist you today? Nicholas didn't return the smile. He didn't even blink. You met my wife yesterday, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Karoline Leavitt, the woman you called MAGA trash and threw out of your showroom. Lucas's face drained of color. That was a misunderstanding, I assure you. No, Nicholas interrupted, his tone glacial. A misunderstanding is when someone accidentally spills coffee on your suit. What you did was deliberate. You humiliated her. You insulted her. And worst of all, you thought there would be no consequences. He paused, letting the words sink in, before tilting his head. Slightly. Tell me, Lucas, do you know who owns the building this dealership operates in? Lucas's stomach dropped. Oh God, Nicholas didn't wait for an answer. I do, and as of this morning, your lease has been terminated. You have 30 days to vacate. The blood rushed from Lucas's face so fast, he swayed on his feet. You can't. We have a contract. A legally binding... I just did, Nicholas said simply. And if you think that's harsh, wait until the press gets wind of how you discriminate against customers based on their political beliefs. I wonder how many of your sophisticated clients will want to be associated with a business like that. The showroom was so silent you could hear a pin drop. The billionaire tech mogul Lucas had been schmoozing took a deliberate step back, distancing himself. The Chanel-clad woman from the day before looked like she wanted to melt into the floor. Nicholas turned to leave, then paused, glancing back over his shoulder. Oh, and one more thing. That Valkyrie my wife wanted? I'll take it. Have it delivered to our address by noon. And with that, he walked out, leaving Lucas standing there, his career in ruins, his arrogance shattered. But here's the question for you. Did Nicholas go too far? Or was this exactly what a man like Lucas deserved? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories where karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down.